Now again, as I discussed yesterday, you need to have a disciplined way of looking at the market. Okay, so what do we have going on here? Well, the first thing I want to do, just kind of repeating the steps that we already did with CIFR, is I want to go ahead and throw on a base channel. Okay, nice decisive break of that move here. Okay, so that argues that this is a third wave rally, and it certainly makes sense if you take a look at the angle. Okay, this is the angle of ascent on that advance up from the April low. This is the angle of ascent with the current advance. Okay, this move up is way sharper. Okay, and again, the entirety of the move up cannot be contained by parallel lines. This argues that this is not a counter trend price move, but in actuality, a developing impulse wave. Okay, so we're working one of these patterns up here. Okay, so where are we now within that impulsive structure? Okay, well, this is kind of what I'm thinking here, where we have one up, expanded flat 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So we still have higher to go. We are in the late stages of wave 3. That would be this wave 3 right here. But as you can see here, you have that nice big breakaway gap that occurred back in October. Okay, so this would be impulsive move number 1. This is impulsive move number 3. Now we need impulsive move number 5, because wave 3, as always, as an impulsive structure, is always going to subdivide into 5 waves. So we still have further rally to go. I like the reversal we're having today. If that is indeed the case, then of course we need to keep the market above 77.35. And then, as always, just like what we did with our analysis of CIFR, do we see anything supportive utilizing our additional tools? Well, here's RSI bull market support right here. Okay, and you can see going back to, again, April, May of 2025, every time we saw a correction, we reversed from RSI bull market support here, as well as here, here. Okay, again, it wasn't long lived. It was like 3, maybe a 5-day pullback, oversold stochastic. And then right here. And in fact, this pullback here mirrors this decline quite nicely. And then another thing that I think is interesting too is if we take a look at our candlestick price chart, this week's candle, notice that really long lower shadow? Long lower shadows tell us the market is rejecting lower prices, pretty much like what we did back here during, say, November. Very long lower shadow. The market is rejecting, of course, lower prices. So what we see technically, utilizing tools which are not Elliott wave based, we again walk away with the consensus of information, or the totality of the data, sorry about that this is still a developing uptrend, and that recent weakness is nothing more than a counter trend price move. So whenever you look at a price chart which is blank, okay, going back to, say, General Motors, where do you begin? Okay, now the reason I say this, and the reason I think this is an important lesson, is because many years ago when I first started doing the wave principle as an Elliottician, if somebody were to ask me what I thought about General Motors, I would say, well, hold on a minute. Okay, let me spend some time looking at the price charts, and I would take a look at the longest term price chart I could get. If I needed 20 years of data, 30 years of data, 50 years of data, I would like, okay, hold on, I got to take a look at that. And then I would come down to the monthly, and then I would, okay, hey, let me take a look at the weekly, and then, okay, let me take a look at the daily, and then I'd go down to the 20. I would do what I sometimes refer to as analysis paralysis. You do so much analysis that you're actually paralyzed because you've looked at so much stuff. And what we just did is an exercise that I call falling down the rabbit hole. Okay, and again, it kind of goes back to what we talked about yesterday. I don't need to really look at much of anything on this price chart other than just simply start here. Notice that we do have confirmation of third wave price action. Realize that this is a counter trend price move, and we're good for another advance. Very simple. So we don't need to do the long-term analysis if all I'm really trying to do is identify a short-term or intermediate-term trading opportunity. Well, that's about it for me for today. As always, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.